Hi, this is Lejeune with Lejeune Singleton LLC, Fitness, Health, Mindset, Nutrition, and Wellness Podcast. You guys, we're back with another great one. And this is a topic that, of course, most people are unaware of. She is a postpartum doula, Dawn Duncan. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Can you give a background on yourself?
Yes, I am Daun Duncan, as she stated. I am a postpartum doula, a mental health counselor by profession originally, before transitioning to becoming a postpartum doula. I am a mother of two beautiful beings, a wife, a daughter, a sister, a friend. I am a lover of all things arts and crafts, and I am the owner of Daun.the.Doula LLC, Postpartum and Wellness Services.
Okay, and as you touched on being in the mental health field, I'm pretty sure that really comes in handy with the postpartum doula. And can you explain what a doula does? Because I think it's a lot of misconception and misinformation when it comes to what doulas do. So can you break that down for us?
For sure. And just as you mentioned, for me, mental health and being a doula literally go hand in hand. It is one of the reasons why I transitioned into this profession, because I was looking at the skills that I already had and wanting to transition into an area, and literally having the foundation of being a mental health counselor made it a seamless transition for me. And we can obviously talk about that more, but to just talk a little bit about what a doula does. Doula comes from the Greek word servant, and a doula is literally a trained professional that supports people in their birthing, reproductive experiences. So that is to aid individuals in making informed decisions, and having physical, emotional, and mental support so that they are able to have the best, beautiful experience that we are able to cultivate for them. And obviously, I'm not sure if everyone's familiar, but you have different types of doulas. So you have birth doulas, you have postpartum doulas, which I am. Then you have full spectrum doulas who do birth all the way through postpartum, pregnancy all the way through postpartum, as well as abortion doulas and even death doulas. So individuals that work with people grieving and preparing for their loved one to transition. So there are various types of doulas. And for me in particular, I chose to begin with being a postpartum doula, but I already have my sights on becoming a birthing doula eventually.
Okay. And can you kind of talk about what the process is with the postpartum doula? Because we know a lot of women after having their baby experience postpartum depression. So can you kind of give background information on what that actually is? Because I had never heard of it before. When I actually saw that's what you did, I've always heard about the birth doulas and how you just describe the different type of doulas. It's like, oh wow, it's different directions. So yeah, if you could talk about what specifically you do with your clients.
Mm-hmm. And to your point, it is unfortunate that sometimes you don't know the things that you possibly could utilize until you need it, or after the fact of like, oh, I'm not even in that space anymore. Now I've learned about this. Hence why we had met at the Sisters in Business conference, and has been a mission of mine. Literally this entire summer I was just showing up at events because I want to get out and talk to people about this lovely service that a lot of people are not aware of. But just to talk a little bit about what I do as a postpartum doula. So of course that looks differently based on each mother and family's needs, but essentially I am there to hold the mother, to care for her, to help her care for herself, and to aid in her physical and mental healing after having a baby. So for some individuals, that may look like allowing the mom to rest while I care for the baby. That may look like doing light housekeeping tasks for the mom. So doing the baby's laundry, helping do the dishes, washing and preparing the bottles and pumping parts. So like all of the little nuances that can add up, but that make a huge difference and impact in a mom's recovery time as she is relearning her body and healing, but also learning this new baby. So that may also look like in before having the baby, assisting a mom and family with preparing their nursery. That may look like with a lot of parents, I have a prenatal appointment with them before they even have the baby, before we get to the postpartum period, but to really sit and develop a postpartum plan with them. So that's discussing meal planning, like what are we going to do for food in the first few weeks after you have birth? That shouldn't be, something you have to be bogged down with thinking about who's going to cook. We can plan meal trains with your family and friends dropping off food for you in the traditional sense, or like a virtual meal train where they're sending Uber Eats deliveries to you. However we want to work that out, or also working with moms to prepare meals in advance. So they have a freezer storage situation for meals. So thinking about that, coming up with a plan about who's going to take on what responsibilities. So while mom is resting, what things can dad do to, or partner, what can the partner do to help out while the mom is resting, and just really ironing out what concerns the parents have and how we can best support them during the postpartum period. But it really depends on what the mom and the family needs in that moment. So often if I show up to do a postpartum visit with the family, I like to ask the mom, like, what is it that you need most in this moment? Is it sleep? Is it food? Is it a shower? Is it just that you want to talk? Like it all depends on where that mom is in that moment, where the mom and the spouse, where that family is in that moment, and me kind of catering to that and meeting them where they are.
Mm. And for most women, I'm not sure if this is something you've experienced in your profession, where it's that moment of they feel embarrassed, or they don't want to be a burden, or they're don't want to ask for help because they're a first time mom, and they don't want to feel like a failure. So what advice or suggestions would you give for those individuals, because they don't want to feel like they're at the point where they're set up to fail?
Absolutely. And to your point, that can be if you're a first time mom or a second time mom, a third, fourth, fifth, every experience of having a child is different and comes with different, experiences. For me in particular, I had severe postpartum depression after my second child. Like
Mm.
after having my first baby, I was, ripping and running and onto the things. But after the second one, life looked and felt a lot differently for me. Hence how I found myself in this position based off of my own personal experience. But to your point, there is a quote by Audre Lorde that I really love. It says to the effect of caring for yourself is not self-indulgence, it is self-preservation. And that is an act of political warfare. And that is something that has stood out to me in this profession, is that us as Black women, I can't speak for other nationalities, but for us as Black women, we often adopt the narrative of like being a strong Black woman, figuring it all out on our own. And while that is great, it's beautiful, I love that about us. Because it motivates us to get all the things done. It shouldn't be to the detriment of our health and our wellness in our life, So in this circumstance of being a postpartum doula, I'm on a mission to remind women, moms in particular, after you give birth, like this is the most delicate time of your life. You have literally just birthed this human and had this experience that was literally a matter of life and death. We have to take time to pause. We have to take time to recover. We have to take time to rest. Like your life is depending upon it, your baby's life is depending upon it, and the liveliness and the thriving of your family is depending upon it. Like we as women, we as mothers, people in general, but specific to the population of people that I serve, you can't pour from an empty cup. So I am as the postpartum doula there to serve as that reminder of like, I will hold your hand and care for you during this time. So let's, talk about doing these cis baths to heal your lady parts. And let's, do all of whatever rituals you may want to do in terms of healing your body, but also talking about nutrition and what types of meals are healing for the body during this period, but really making sure that the mom is being cared for, because when you have a baby, everyone's like, oh, how's the baby? What's the
Right.
baby doing? I called to check on the baby. Where's the baby? And it's like, what about me?
Right.
I am like hurt here, and God forbid if you tear, you have to get stitches or you have a
Oh, yeah.
C-section, and that is a whole different recovery in itself. But the mom needs to be, in my opinion, needs to be held more than the baby does, because at that moment the baby is eating and sleeping and living its best life,
Right.
snuggled up, right? The mom is in this in a identity crisis, literally. You have been altered as a being, the being of which you were, but literally there's also a chemical change in your brain. There are so many changes taking place within a woman's body during that period that we as a society don't focus enough on, and we don't invest enough into care for the people, the women who are birthing our nation.
Right. And that is true. A friend a while ago, when she had her baby, I would always ask her how she's doing, because we do get in the habit of
Mhm.
the baby, the baby, the baby, and we feel like, okay, we neglect the mom, and the mom has went through so much to give birth to this child, and it feels like, okay, I'm forgotten about, hey, here I am, I have feelings, hey, can you say hi or check on me? Your immediate thing is, how's the baby?
And becoming a mom, whether again, first, second, third, whatever time it is, it can be so isolating to that point because the focus is on the baby. Moms often feel isolated and alone for that reason and so many more, but that one in particular. So it's important to be able to not only show up for moms to feel heard and seen, but to also really truly walk them through the process of like caring, taking the time to recover and rest. Because there is a book called The First 40 Days, and it literally like irons out what the mom should be doing in the first 40 days of
Mm.
postpartum, which number one is resting. And, in life, whether you're becoming a parent or not, we're in a society that has trained us to think that productivity is success, and that is what defines your value as a person. So if you are resting, then that is deemed as being unproductive. But like, you cannot be productive if you're not resting and taking time to heal and recover.
I agree. And I think for, women with our bodies, especially giving birth and bringing out life, and especially women that tear, like you need that rest for your body to heal, or even a C-section, you need that rest for your body to heal. So you can, take care of the baby or move around or even take care of yourself. And like you said, society has deemed it and made it seem like if you're resting, you're lazy. You're not lazy. Your body calls for that.
Mhm. And it's gonna demand it one way or another.
Are your body's gonna shut down?
Mhm. Yeah, that's what
And
I mean. It's
yeah,
gonna demand
yeah,
it.
yeah. It's you're gonna shut down. So either you're gonna take that time and get it, or you're gonna shut down. So, and that's not a good thing. So you mentioned, because what you said is quite interesting. I'm just thinking how those things tie in together and could affect mental health.
Mhm.
Um, your people are calling, but they're not checking on you. um you're a new mom, you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling tired. Could that lead to some form of early, depression, that postpartum part of that? And if so, can you kind of talk about that?
Absolutely. Those are the things you just mentioned are symptoms of depression. So insomnia, obviously you're a new mom, you're not getting any sleep. So that alters your emotional state when you are sleep deprived. Irritability. So again, you are trying to manage all of these things that can cause for overwhelm. Isolation. That means that you are often left to your own devices and your own thoughts. Often, my mom used to tell me when I was a child, an idle mind is the devil's playground. For me, I wholeheartedly believe in that when it comes to mental wellness. Like, obviously, there are other contributing factors that may be genetic, maybe based on traumatic experiences, but also being left to your own thoughts. We are our own hardest critics, you know? So imagine being a new mom. This is all new to you. You are learning about this new being, the needs of a new person, how this person now adds to your family dynamics, the shift in relationship dynamics of you and your partner, you learning this and trying to heal this body, now learning about this new identity because you as a mom have birthed this baby, but you've also birthed a new version of yourself. All of these things on top of your daily living of laundry and cooking and your spousely duties and learning about the new child is a recipe for overwhelm, right? It's a recipe for overwhelm. And that is where you can be at risk to postpartum depression. And we focus on that a lot, but it can be postpartum anxiety. It can be postpartum bipolar disorder. It can be postpartum obsessive compulsive disorder. All of these mental illness and mental disorders can be prevalent during the postpartum period.
And you touched on a lot because the other list that you gave is never talked about. It's always postpartum depression.
Mhm.
So what are some signs that women can look for, or even family members can look for when it comes to, postpartum bipolar or anxiety and things like that, where they're aware of it? Because sometimes, especially in our community, it's not talked about. I think recently, when a few celebrities came out and started talking about they experienced postpartum depression.
Mhm.
For years, women have dealt with it, and we've heard stories of where women have, committed suicide and also killed their babies at the same time because they just felt so overwhelmed and like, they couldn't take care of their kids and things like that. Um, but and also, why do you feel like that's not a conversation that is typically had in our community?
People don't want to be judged. They feel guilty for feeling these negative feelings. So to your point of feeling like having not feeling connected to your baby, right? That can be a sign of postpartum depression and or bipolar disorder. Um, uh, People also don't talk about like these intrusive thoughts that they have. So for someone who may have postpartum anxiety, they may feel anxious and have intrusive
Mhm.
thoughts of something bad happening to their child. Like I had one mom share with me that she just has this continuous thought of like when her husband is walking up the stairs, he's just gonna accidentally drop the baby and the baby's gonna fall down the flight of stairs. Like you sharing that with someone, they're going to be like, why are you being crazy? Like, why are you thinking about that? There's no way he's going to trip down the stairs and drop the baby. But to her, this is, a severely anxious thought that plagues her on a daily basis, right? And it may not be falling down the stairs. It may be the baby falling out of the bed or getting into a car accident, driving. All the random intrusive things can have a severe impact on an individual. It's not talked about because people don't want to be judged. Two, sorry about that. They don't want to be judged. And in addition to that, oftentimes people don't really know how to help someone in that moment. So people are just like, I'm not going to share because they probably don't know how to help me anyway. But then also, two, they may not feel comfortable enough to share those things and may lack the support system and or resources to even know that that's what they're going through. So I also talk to a lot of moms in my family about their postpartum experiences. And after, I go through this whole spiel of the symptoms and things that can be experienced, they're like, man, I did experience that, but I had no idea that that's what I was going through. I was just like, today I'm feeling a little sad. I'm not really sure what that's about. Got to keep moving, like you don't spend time to think about it, or you're not even aware that that's a thing. And it also goes back to being within the Black community, mental health, while it is being talked about more often now, that has always been a taboo subject in our community, as in especially referring back to the strong Black women syndrome. Like, you do what you have to do and you keep pushing forward, or you pray it away and God will heal you of that. But not recognizing that, prayer does change things, but God has also put people here to help you navigate through those challenging borders. So there's lots of things that contribute to that. Another part of it is if a mom is experiencing intrusive thoughts of harming their baby, because sometimes, for some people, their postpartum illness may manifest in anger, and they have intrusive thoughts of harming their baby or harming themselves. They don't share that because they don't want intervention in someone saying that they are incapable of caring for their child, and then their child being removed from their care.
Yeah, that's definitely true. So what are some signs and symptoms that new mothers should look for? And I know for some women, they experience postpartum up until the child is like between 1, 2, and 3. So what are some signs that people can look for? And is this something immediate that they should talk to their doctor or therapist or, postpartum doula like yourself? What steps do they need to take? Because most people don't know what to do.
For sure. So first I will say, by textbook, they will say that the postpartum period is from after birth up until the first year. For me, the postpartum period is defined as the period after birth. For me, women who become moms will forever be living in the period after birth. So technically, to me, once you become a mom, you're forever living in postpartum. But I say that to say, anyway, there are some signs that they can be looking out for is that if they have a loss in interest in things that they used to enjoy, if they have a long lasting sense of unexplainable sadness or anxiousness that may not be triggered by a specific event that impacts their daily living. So it impacts how they interact with others, them showing up for caring for themselves. So for some individuals, you may notice that they may not be doing well because they're not doing their activities of daily living, like showering, brushing their teeth, doing their hair, like, showing up in ways for themselves that they used to. It may be presenting with irritability, extreme irritability. So simple little things may be triggering them to have extreme emotional fluctuation. So like one moment they're happy and the next moment they're sad or angry. And there are very extreme emotional changes in those ways. For someone who may be experiencing these symptoms or others, I always suggest seeking support. So obviously having a postpartum doula who can identify these symptoms and say, hey, I noticed that something's going on with you. Let's, go through the signs that may be showing that you are experiencing postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety. These are some of the resources that you should look into utilizing. Obviously, talking to your doctor about it, seeking support in the form of therapy. So there are therapists that are specifically trained in the specialty of perinatal mental health disorders. So that would be because all of these mental health disorders can also be experienced during pregnancy. So that's something else we don't talk about. So there is a perinatal therapist that focus on mental health illnesses from the onset of pregnancy throughout postpartum. So seeking out a therapist, finding local support groups. There are postpartum support groups. I have participated in one during my own experience with postpartum depression. There are a number of resources that people can utilize, even if it's, just talking to a friend, but having the support of a postpartum doula to reaffirm you in the things that you're going through, but to also let you know that you're not alone. You're not the first mom to experience these things, and it's normal to have sometimes intrusive thoughts or to feel disconnected from your body and your baby. All of these things are normal. And I think that is where a lot of fear sets in for people, because it's you're in your own world, in your own mind, and then you think that you are the only person experiencing these things, so then you don't share.
Mm. And this is very, very true. And especially in our community, therapy is not something that most people do. I think it's getting better because it's that whole mindset of, well, people are going to think I'm crazy or something's wrong with me. And if you need the services, take advantage of the services, because as you said earlier, God put these people in place to help you. If we knew how to do it, we'd be doing it.
But
So,
also too, in addition to that, if you are having issues with your heart or your digestive system, you go to the doctor to get checked out, you follow the prescriptions and the, care plan that they set out for you. Why do we not do the same when it comes to our mental wellness, just as it comes to our physical wellness?
well, sometimes we don't do that either.
Sometimes we don't.
Yeah,
Sometimes we
yeah.
don't.
We wait till we get to the fourth stage and
The
then we
breaking point, for
decide,
sure. You're
and
absolutely
we
right
we
about
we
that.
decide to go. And it's unfortunate because we're paying for insurance. Insurance is coming out of our check bi-weekly. Every month you're giving your good money away, but you do not want to go to the doctor and pay that copay, but you wait till you get to that third, fourth stage where you're paying thousands and thousands of dollars.
Mhm.
Make it make sense, because it does not make
It does
sense
not
at
make
all.
sense. We often live in a way that is reactive instead of being proactive.
Yes. And which is very sad, and especially with our mental health. And I used to work in mental health, and I would see new mothers come in all the time, and they're stressed out. They have other little small kids, and they're like overwhelmed, they're unemployed or underemployed.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, what services do you want to sign up for?
Mhm.
Or if they are on, psych meds, the side effects and things like that, and having that conversation of, are you telling your psychiatrist the side effects of the medicine, or how it's affecting you, or how it's, not allowing you to be an active mom? And I don't know how to really say it, if it's the fear of being judged, of not speaking up, or what it is exactly, where they've come to me as a case manager when I used to work in case management, where I would have to go in with them and tell the therapist, hey, she's not able to sleep, or it's making her overly hungry, or it's making her moody or agitated or something like that. It's unfortunate, because it feels like we have lost our voice, and we've lost that sense of being able to speak up for ourselves when it comes to those moments. When it comes to other things, we're very vocal.
That's true. That's true. But that shows the example you just gave shows the importance of having an advocate. So, like in the moments where we just speaking as a person, where I may
Right.
not feel comfortable to speak up for myself, but having that advocate to help encourage me or to speak up for me when I feel like I can't. And as a postpartum doula, I'm doing the same thing. So if there are concerns that you have, whether it is how your baby's latching, we can work on on, techniques and skills of breastfeeding, but this is also something that you should discuss with your doctor. If you are having, pains in your recovery after birth, or you are bleeding extensively and bleeding and having blood clots, these are things that we need to address with your doctor. And here's how to do so. And, or, you go to your appointment, call me while you're there, FaceTime me while you're there, and let's talk to your doctor about what these concerns are. But really, providing the level of support that a mom needs in those early moments. It's the other thing that I think about too, is that for new moms, we're so caught up in making sure the baby is eating, making sure that the baby's digestive tract is working, and they're peeing and they're pooping on schedule, all the things that you remember the concern you had about, the sharp pain you had in your belly while your uterus is contracting, but that went out the window because now you're focused on, your child not eating enough. So me also being there to serve as that reminder of these are the concerns you had. Remember to also address this with your doctor while you're also addressing the needs of your baby.
And for anyone who's interested in becoming a postpartum doula, can you walk us through the process of what they need to do? Because like I said, when I saw you and what you did, your card, and I was like, what the heck? What is this different? What is this?
No, I really appreciate it. Really appreciated that, and you coming over to talk to me. So becoming a postpartum doula for me, once I started the journey of just learning about this area of profession and researching the different organizations that offer training, and there's a number of them there, I settled on the National Black Doula Association, obviously because they have a focus on educating doulas in the historical context of which African-American women, African-American indigenous people of color, the historical context of birthing in America, but also how that impacts the support we receive, how that impacts the type of nutritional value we need to add to our lives. There is a focus regarding people that look like me. So I was very intentional in choosing to train with that organization. They offer trainings throughout the country. They are based in Atlanta, but they have trainers that travel around and host trainings in different cities. And you would do your training through them. And then there is a certification process based off of if you're becoming a postpartum doula or birth, they do other trainings as well. You would have to serve a number of families and then provide documentation on that and all of that, and then apply for your certification. In addition to that, I also participated in a herbalist course. That course was called Grandma's Hands, Pregnancy and Postpartum Herbs and Nutrition in the Southern Tradition. I thoroughly enjoyed that class because that too was gave me knowledge about granny midwives in the South, African-American older women who were delivering babies, not necessarily with the medical degrees, but they were midwives before, midwives became a thing. But it also taught me about natural herbs and ingredients and how to heal your body from the inside out, which then led me to creating my own wellness products based off of that course that I took. So if someone is interested in becoming a postpartum doula, I would recommend starting with the National Black Doula Association. See if that aligns with who you are and what you believe. If not, there are a ton of hosts of other doula training organizations.
Okay, so can you explain, because I see how it all ties in together, but other people may not. So can you kind of explain how you working in mental health, being a mental health professional, herbalist, and a doula all ties in together? I see it, but I just want, people who are like, well, why she's a herbalist, So if you can explain why all those tie in together and why is it important for the women that you work with?
Definitely. So for me, it is important to be able to heal the body naturally and to aid and support your body in healing itself the way that it knows how to. Like your body is self-healing. You provide it with the tools and the nutrients to be able to do its work. Hence why I, took the course in learning about natural herbs in that way. That also ties into caring for yourself and self-care, which is an active revolution in itself, because we're taught that self-care is selfish and you're only thinking about you, but you need to take care of you so then you can then turn around and pour into others. And the saying is so that you can be thriving and not just surviving, right? You have to put in the time and invest the effort in your wellness. That ties into mental health. Mental wellness is a part of that wellness, so it's mental, it's physical, it's spiritual, it's emotional. All of those pillars are equal parts of your wellness journey. So for me, being in mental health and then transitioning into providing support to women in their postpartum period, and also tying into herbalism and how that aids in healing the body and self-care, that those are just small portions of the world and the umbrella of wellness in the different varying ways of how to care for yourself, and to serve your body and aid your body in holistically healing.
And how important is nutrition for a new mother or a mother who literally has given birth and goes home? Because, sometimes it's that period of they're not hungry, or they still have the cravings that they had when they were pregnant. So how important is nutrition?
It's so important. And I think that I was going to say it's a misconception, but maybe it's not even a misconception. I think for new moms after having a baby, we get caught up in this space of like, okay, now it's time to work on the snapback. Let me eat all the salads and drink all the smoothies to get my body back, right? And the reality is that you're doing so much more harm to your body than you are aiding it. We do not need to be eating cold salads and drinking cold drinks. We need all the hot, healing, soothing,
Mhm.
warm things. So we need the teas, we need the soups, we need the broths to help heal the body through warming. And of course, you do need your vegetables, but we shouldn't be aiming towards cold, sorry,
That's
cold
okay.
nutritional things. So nutrition is definitely a huge part of it. While I have curated several different types of meals and smoothies and snacks for moms that we can work on preparing for them during the postpartum period, I will not pretend to say that I'm a nutritionist, like in the whole detailing of that. But I do have a couple of friends who are nutritionists that once it gets out of my scope of really focusing on the specific needs of an individual based on their health, their body structure, and those details, then I would, refer them to meet with a nutritionist so they can tailor a specific plan for them. But it is definitely important in healing the body, one, but also being able to aid in the production of milk. So like if you want to breastfeed, how your diet is a major contribution to your development and your lactation. And also,
Mhm.
the type of nutrients that then transfers to your body. I mean, to your baby, sorry, from your body to your baby. So that is nutrition plays a key part in that as well.
Wow. And I think a lot of women don't know that, where it is that immediately I want my body back. They're doing too much movement too soon,
Or not
where
eating enough.
or exactly. So you heard it from Dawn. You need to eat. You need to eat warm foods and healthy foods. And so, and your body will, when you're resting, a lot of people don't understand Sleep and rest alone, you will lose weight. That's
Yes.
when your major organs start to work. They're like, hey, I'm resting, so I'm able to do what I'm supposed to do and function properly.
Mhm.
So can you tell people where they can find you or any events that you have coming up?
Yes. So you can find me. My website link is Dawn of a New Day. I will say it is Daun, Daun. That is how you spell my first name. The U is for unique. You'll never forget me. Um, but it's Dawn of a New Day, Daun, .com. You can also find me on Instagram at Daun.the.Doula. Again, that's Daun, period, the doula. I do not have any community events coming up. I was all over the city during the summer. So now this fall, I am focusing on taking clients as I have some clients preparing for birth. So that is more my focus during this fall and winter season. But I will be pulling up at more events near you come the spring and summer. But all of those details can be found on my Instagram and on my website link.
And how many clients do you see like during the time? Is there a certain amount that you take? And also, I'm sure people would like to also know, do you offer like virtual services as well?
Yes. So I do offer virtual services. And again, all of this is predicated on what the mom and the family needs. Typically with virtual services, an individual, I probably will meet with them once a week, once or twice a week, depending on, what they need in our scheduling. But those tend to look more like therapeutic sessions, but
Mhm.
also addressing whatever concerns and questions they may have as it relates to the healing of their body, as well as it relates to caring for their baby. So that is the virtual services. The in-person services vary also based on individuals' needs. So that kind of dictates how many clients I take at a time. But typically, I think that my sweet spot is around like 3 in-person clients at a time, based upon also how often and frequent they want me to provide in-home support to them. So for someone, it may be they just want me to come one day a week to help with preparing their laundry, or helping give the mom a break one time a week, and doing an overnight uh, shift with caring for the baby while the parents rest. For others, it may be 3 times a week. So it really just depends on what the needs are of the family, and then how I can, piecemeal that together. But generally, it's around 3 or 4 families at a time. And then virtual services, I will plug virtual clients in as often as I can, because that is a shorter time constraint. So those sessions are typically an hour, whereas if I'm meeting with the family in person, it is at least in 4-hour increments. So it may be 4 hours, it may be longer.
Right. So my next and final question for you is, because you are pouring and giving to so many people in so many ways, how do you provide health, mental, and wellness for yourself and nutrition?
So I, have to put the money where my mouth is, to also do the things that I am encouraging my clients to do. That is often a struggle for me, but I am a work in progress. But I enjoy, as I mentioned before, doing arts and crafts. So I have tons of like random projects that I do around the house, whether it is, I actually enjoy purchasing like old, um, different types of furniture. So whether it's picture frames, whether it's desk, and then I refurbish them by painting, spray painting, adding wallpaper. So I have just like DIY arts and craft projects galore. But in addition to that, I eat very healthily. I prefer to do that over working out, but I am adding working out back into my regimen. I also enjoy journaling is something that really helps with my mental wellness. I too am a participant of therapy. I see my therapist on a weekly basis. So that also offers me an outlet um, to be able to be refilled, but also continuing to make sure that I am offloading and processing, the things that are occurring in my life, because we all have, life is lifing for all of us. Um, but making sure that I make that a priority for maintaining my mental wellness as well. So that's a huge part for me. But I, in random moments, I have little kids. So having weekly dance parties is like a thing in our house on Fridays. Friday evenings, we have dance parties. So just like plugging in little moments of joy is really what helps me maintain some stability and mental wellness while I am pouring out to clients and pouring out to my husband and my children. That helps me stay grounded. So it can be the simplest of things, of me taking a walk in, the middle of the day, just to break up the day if I have a moment, and getting out into sunshine. I am an individual who really loves to connect with nature. So most times I will be outdoors, whether it's doing yoga, if it's sitting out journaling, just being out in the sun. If I can get outside, that's my happy place.
Okay. Okay. Well, I thank you so much, and you have truly provided some education and also advocating, because I think, for people who watch this, they will be able to, pinpoint and spot something from a loved one who's just given birth and can say, okay, well, I'm kind of seeing this is going on with you. So thank you so much for what you do and all that you do. And we'll have to have you back so you can show some of your beautiful artwork that you're working on. And, if you want to sell it to somebody, hey, we're
Yes,
taking
and
bids.
in addition to that, I have the wellness products, so the Afterglow postpartum self-care and recovery products that were created for moms in mind. That is also on my website link. There are tea blends. There is a massage oil to help combat stretch marks and dryness of the skin. There is a perineal cooling spray and a cyst bath, which are both products to help heal your private parts after birth. And there is something that I am forgetting. Oh, the nipple butter. So that is a moisturizer for breastfeeding moms. Although we have changed that name in my house to magic butter, because it literally, I have a almost 2-year-old son who scrapes and bruises himself all the time. You know how boys are really rough. Um, and that really increases my anxiety. But nevertheless, this nipple butter has been changed to magic butter in my house because we use it as a natural alternative to Neosporin. So all of those products can be found on my website. They make great gifts for baby showers and just a thinking of you gift to moms who often feel forgotten. Those products are made specifically for moms.
All right, thank you again. I will have her information for anybody who wants to contact her, and also great baby gift options or whatever. This time of year, the babies are coming out left and right. So thank you again, Dawn. I'm LaJune. You can find me at LaJuneSingleton.com. I am accepting new clients, so check me out. Let's not wait until 2023 to become healthier and better. Let's do it now. All right, until next time, I'm LaJune.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.